My name is Marla Grayson.
I'm just someone who cares.
Marla Grayson, you've had amazing success. What's your secret?
There is no secret, Peter.
She forces them into the home, auctions off their house, and uses the proceeds to pay herself.
Well, I wanted to say, there's something that struck me about this movie is how our willingness, especially when it comes to care, to believe like sort of like a smiling, well put together, rich looking white lady. And Marla sort of really seizes on those stereotypes and uses them to her advantage. How did you sort of process that or use that as an actor?
Well, I'm always drawn to characters who play with the qualities that we find safe, exactly as you say, the qualities that we want to trust. It was the same with, Amy Dunn, who in A Gone Girl, who brilliantly manipulated the idea of the victim, and played the victim and performed the victim and made everyone believe she was the victim until you realize she was actually running the whole story. And Marla Grayson, she is able to perform, upstanding pillar of the community, trustworthiness, caregiver, concerned party, honest, sort of beacon of truth, and she's able to perform all those things brilliantly in the court. And I think, her arguments are very subtle and profound when she says, you can't care for someone by doing what they want. You have to care for them by doing what they need. You think, well, yeah. And then you realize that it's all a sham. Yes, of course, and I think when she goes to Jennifer Peterson's house, when she has her hustle, it's so smooth. Of course, she's trading on all those things. She knows she can look totally approachable, totally unthreatening. In fact, she's the most threatening person out there. It's an interesting space for me to play in. I enjoy the performative aspect of these nefarious characters, what they're doing, how they're manipulating, and I do enjoy it.
The movie is also really scary, and not just because there are guns and mobsters and danger and whatever, but because like it's scary to think how easy it is to take advantage of this like very vulnerable population of elderly people. What did you learn sort of about elder abuse, I guess, while making this movie?
I didn't learn anything while making the movie. As soon as I read the script the first time, I went online and went down a sort of dark dive into the truth of this subject matter. And it's, it does happen. It is possible. The system is set up for the people to be taken advantage of. This has only come more to light during the pandemic when we've realized what big business healthcare is. But while I was making it, I that was not my concern. Marla, in a way, as you said at the beginning, she trades on the female stereotype of caregiver and runs with it and makes business out of it. She thought, fine, you think women should care? I'm going to show you what caring is. It's going to be a multi-million-dollar business. I was, almost having to depersonalize everybody, depersonalize the whole thing in order to get inside Marla's head. So it was a very different, you can't be, I knew that the whole movie would raise awareness of the issue, but I knew that J.R. Writer had rightly thought that if he made a movie about this and told it from the point of view of the victim, it would be so harrowing and sort of unwatchable that he's given us license to absorb this phenomenon, but in a way that we can enjoy it as a sort of uncomfortable pleasure. And he's even made it that the victim, in this case Jennifer Peterson, played by Diane Wiest, is not, your typical victim either.
In that vein, I loved sort of that we never really found out why Marla, like how she got into this or how she became this person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like we maybe got a little bit of a glimpse when she was like, I don't care about my mom. She's a sociopath or whatever. But beyond that, we didn't get the Marla Grayson sort of origin story. And I think that helped make her too, not this like sympathetic character to some effect. She is sympathetic, but I
think
it's a weird character.
My opinion is that if we tried to do that, or Jay had written that in, it would have derailed the whole idea of the movie. I think a lot of these characters that are fun to watch and you're kind of you know, guiltily involved in enjoying their dastardly ways, if they then try and ask you to care about them, you sort of lose it. You get all into sort of trouble, because the whole idea of a film like this is that you don't have to care, you know, ironically. You don't have to, and Marla's not asking for your sympathy. She's not asking for that at all. She might be, I think the best I could hope for, I thought, with playing Marla is that, you know, I think people will admire the kind of ingenuity of her hustle. I think they'll admire her courage in places. Will they like her? No, but they might find her fun.
In some sense, we end up caring about Peter Dinklage's character almost more, because we're like, he needs his mom, you know, like that's his
mommy's boy. He's got her macaroons. He's got those nice macaroons waiting for her. I know. He actually took the time to leave the car to go into the store. You know, he's not just hiding out. I know. You see, as soon as a man does something nice, it's considered a sort of bonus. It gets him so many brownie points as soon as he does something nice. But if a woman doesn't have niceness, it just depletes her store of goodwill so massively. But a guy just needs a tiny glimpse of niceness, and we think, oh, he's so nice. Speaking of one sort of thing that can turn, I loved Marla's vape. And usage of the vape. Like, how did you sort of imagine that as an extension of her character? Well, it kind of gave me some like firepower, you know, it gave me some like dragon-like smoke puffs to hide behind. And you know, I think anything that allows you to sort of pause for effect, and it's an irritant to the person you're talking to. I think that's another use of it as a weapon. She's got two weapons. She's got her vape and she's got her smile. I think she uses them both to quite good effect. It's a sort of, it can give the illusion of being very relaxed too, very comfortable. Yeah. You know, it's a bit different from smoking, which can often seem like a nervous tick. And vaping has a sort of slow, steady, it can more be used to unnerve the other person, I think. So it was a very interesting thing to do. Get involved with, you know, get involved in the whole kind of coil story, and, you know, all the different tricks that people can do and the flavors, and I enjoyed it. I used to live by a guy that had like a van outside his house in LA, and he was a vape artist. Like, he'd come to your party and do like vape tricks and stuff like that. It's a whole world. I should have got some tricks. I didn't ever sort of perfect, like, you know, blowing a smoke ring through another, or I mean, people get these, you know, cloud dragons and stuff. I know it is a whole thing. I could have taken a deeper dive. Last question. Did this movie make you like consider your sort of like, I need to tighten up my will, here's what I want when I go, like, did you think about any of that stuff? No, I didn't. Why bother? No, I think it would, you know, reading it, I think for Diane Wiest, you know, I don't want to speak for her, but I've heard her speak about it. I mean, she said, you know, she read this script and was horrified. She thought, you know, this could happen to me. You know, this is a real thing, and this could, and I think it is, you know, I think people will have a different response to it based on their age and stage in life, I think, when they see it. And I think also depending on what they're thinking, I think some people will see it and just be sort of deliciously captivated and find it very funny. I think people will definitely see it as the dark comedy we intend, and some people obviously won't. Some people will be really disturbed by it, I think.